Okay, you lot, so the day is about to end. As you can see, if I go to my portal and look at the top left screen, there is 2 minutes until the daily reset, right? I'm currently out of battle XP, so again, I'm killing monsters and I'm not getting any XP. However, after playing 24 hours straight, right? Okay, including some breaks, such as like eating, toilet, all of that, right? Now I did not sleep, however, so yeah, I've been playing for 24 hours straight and I'm quite happy with my progress. As you can see in the thumbnail or in the title, I am currently rank 1 in my country of Lithuania, right? I was confidently rank 1, like over a level ahead. However, for the last few hours, I've mostly been playing around and testing various builds rather than just straight up farming XP, so I've fallen off a bit. I don't intend to keep the rank 1 for a long time, right? Because I only did this sort of like massive grind for the first day. Starting today, I'm gonna be going a little bit more chill on it, right? But yeah, as we're waiting for the reset, I'll show you some progress of my account, right? What sort of content I've beat, and I'll give you some tips and tricks. Actually, I've written, I believe, 4 or 5 of them. From what I've learned, right, doing various types of content, because I've been doing everything. I've been farming scenarios, I've been farming rifts, dojo, PvP, all of it, right? And yeah, I'll talk about those in just a second. And overall though, boys, first impressions of this game. This game is game of the year. I'm telling you, this game is game of the year. It is currently only been a day since launch, and it's invite only as well. It's only been a day since launch, and it's already by far the best mobile game that I've ever played, like ever played, right? It can get a little boring at times, especially if you don't have any XP to farm, but as long as you have XP, as long as you have quests and all that, this game is amazing. Every aspect of this game, whether you're just farming, rifts, dojo, arena, even just playing around with various builds, this game, chef's kiss, right? Absolutely chef's kiss. So as promised, let's review the progress that I've made in 24 hours, and then I'll talk a bit about various tips and tricks that I have, right? So when it comes to the regular worlds, right, I've tried to farm around in all of the worlds somewhat equally. Usually I was just targeting the events as far as I could, right? But overall, I sort of just stuck with any world, farm it for like 10 minutes, quit, and then go to the next one, right? Now, I did manage to finish all quests in the Shrine Village, the first world, but I mean, after farming a bit, they were on the easier side, especially when you're at a point where you can pretty much one-shot everything in a map, right? They become quite easy to complete. Haven't touched too many of the other quests, right? I usually don't look at the quests much. I only did this for the first one. For other worlds, I'm really just going in, trying to target some sort of like elite monsters or anything like that and just leave, right? I'm not really targeting specific quests. I have, for the last hour, have been targeting this specific one because I do want to complete this world as well. But yeah, overall, just been trying to have fun around it, just trying to build various builds, see how they work out, right? When it comes to rifts, I have managed to complete all of them. I haven't pushed for like a good timing run because I think in order to get good timing, we will need to have people who are much higher level. At the moment, I would say just go for completions, right? As long as you complete it first, forget like the speed runs unless you have like a pre-made dedicated party where all of the people are high level, because from what I've seen public lobbies, no offense, right, like people understand how the boss works, but the builds they have are definitely suboptimal. A lot of the people are going with very sort of like weird random builds, right? So the good thing is they do understand the boss mechanics, right? They do understand how the game works quite well, I'll say that. It's not like people are completely oblivious to what's happening. So yeah, they do understand what's happening, but unfortunately the builds definitely don't synergize a lot with others, right? And I'll give you one tip. Again, like, there could be changes to how you play, but I do have one tip for bosses as well, especially the rift sets. But yeah, I've managed to complete all of these, unlocked all of the rewards from there. When it comes to Dojo, I did manage to complete all of the basic training, so I did just completion on the heavy training or like heavy hitting and boss beat. For the basics, I actually managed to beat it in 40 seconds, which I will showcase in the next video, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But yeah, this one, super fun. However, I feel like heavy hitting and boss beat, again, is like very, very endgame content, right? Because you can complete it relatively easy, right? But beating those minute and minute 30 project quests is a little challenging. Now, granted, I haven't tried too much on heavy hitting. I was mostly focusing on the basics. I might be able to hit 130. I definitely won't be able to hit the minute though. So we'll play around with that as well. And for PvP, I've also tried it a bit. I was mostly focusing on the Lone Ranger one. I tried a few games of double party, big party. Those are fun, but I feel like solo PvP is the most balanced one, right? Because in big party, everything is just absolute chaos. And with double trouble, it sort of works, but there's a lot of different strategies you have to play around compared to the Lone Ranger, right? Because like the meta in Lone Ranger is like super different to Double Trouble. The bad thing about PvP is I'm not sure whether this is the lack of players or maybe people are just waiting to play this game, but I've noticed that there is a very low amount of actual real players, right? A lot of the games are filled with bots so far, right? I think, I don't want to say it's like super bad because I know people are just starting out and having level 14 gear is quite a tough ask, but yeah, I usually meet maybe, best case scenario, 1 real player per game. The rest 18 are usually bots, right? And I'll tell you how to identify bots in PvP, in regular maps, all of that, right? But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the PvP currently is bots, which on a bad side, it sort of like takes away from the PvP. On a good side, right? Beating bots is super easy, so you can level up this quite a bit, and I'll try to reach black belt and see how far I can go in that, right? But yeah, that's the progress that I have so far. Now I'll give you some tips and tricks that I've learned from this game, so you can get learning a little bit easier, right? Tip that I've learned as I've played through a lot of these random worlds is, honestly, always run with a group, right? Perfect showcase right here, right? As you can see, I just got the hunt monsters daily job, right? So I need to hunt 125 monsters. Hunting monsters is all cool and all, right? Especially in the earlier maps, especially if you're like a level of 18 or something like that, where you are able to one-shot a lot of the units in the first or second world, right? This won't be as important, but especially if you are early on and you are struggling to beat a lot of the units, right? Always run with a group, right? Whether it's bots, whether it's players, right? Because here's the deal, you don't actually need to kill the unit or to even get a hit for the kill to count. So for example, I took all of various offensive passives that I have, right? So I'm not gonna be using any gadgets, I'm not gonna be using my weapon, and I'm not gonna be using any of the passives that I have that will damage enemies. As you can see, I have double heal and an explosion on kill, which will not proc. If I just go next to one of the people who are currently farming, right? As you can see, I'm not hitting anything, and it is counting towards my daily quest, right? So you can imagine if you do stick with a larger group, especially in the later game scenarios where they are just completely like going and they're just one-shotting everything, right? All you have to do really is just walk around and you will be getting the kill credit for it, right? So don't try to sort of like play by yourself, right? There's really no point in trying to go away from everyone and are trying to hit monsters in there, right? As long as you are with a group of people who are actively just farming, you will be able to easily get all of the kills. Now, however, if you are on the weaker side, right, if you feel like you're not contributing much to the damage, what you can do is go on a full healing mode, right? Use a lot of the gadgets that do healing, use a lot of the passives that do healing, and you can help out your team that way. So, for example, they will be doing majority of the damage, and you can just simply spam heals so they are able to keep up with all of the units. But yeah, as you can see, I've been walking around, I haven't used a single skill. I'm getting some XP, I'm getting the Monster Hunter kill credit, right? And you will be able to easily wipe a lot of those quests that you have out, especially if they are in the higher level areas, right? And now another tip that I have is regarding bosses, right? When it comes to bosses, I'm of course talking mostly about the multiplayer rifts. However, it can apply in some cases for the dojo runs as well. And the thing with these is I see a lot of the people are still sort of like experimenting with a lot of the builds, right? But I'll tell you one thing, right? I've played with these rifts for several hours yesterday at least. One thing that fails the runs, right, is an incorrect weapon of choice. Now, I do see that I've picked an incorrect gadget myself, right? But for the main weapon, in like 95% of the cases, I would highly recommend you to use the wolf weapon. The reason for this is, look at this, right? For example, the boss shoots his big damage attack. Usually, if you don't have a single wolf weapon, the boss will be targeting one of the players, right? And what happens in that case is you will be taking a lot of damage after like 2 or 3 hits. That player will need to heal up. They will be getting low, they might need to run away from everyone, which will lower the overall damage you do, right? If you have at least 2 of these weapons that spawn the werewolf, right? I'm not sure what their exact name is, but if you have at least 2 weapons that spawn the werewolf, you will be able to tank that damage much easier. This means that you will need less healing overall, meaning that you can pick more gadgets that do damage, right? And you'll be saving a lot of the time because you won't need to run away from the boss. You will be able to heal up a little bit easier. And yeah, as you can see, the boss targets the werewolf. It would have targeted me, right? But it saw the werewolf and it didn't switch to me because, especially for example in this boss, dealing with that wiping attack is really difficult, right? And if you have a werewolf that can take all of the damage, like look at this, the werewolf is taking like 3 to 4 hits of damage every time it is spawned, right? And it is quite easy to spawn it with the weapon. So as long as you have like 2 of these in each party, you will be able to easily tank a lot of the damage. So look at this. The weapon disappeared and the werewolf is back once again, right? So yeah, that's sort of a tip regarding a lot of these bosses, right? Make sure to use, if you can, at least at minimum 1 weapon. However, ideally it would be best if you used 2 wolf weapons in each party, because it really makes it easier, it relies less on the healing, and you are able to focus more on doing the damage, right? Okay, and another tip that I have, and this is a big one, especially if you are targeting some of the missions that have to do with your weapons, your gadgets, your passives, all of that, right? So you will see that I have completed quite a few of these, but there are missions where you have to do damage with a specific weapon, you need to do something with a gadget, something with a passive, right? These numbers can get quite high, right? However, I'm gonna showcase something that can really help you out. So for example, let's say I wanna level up my CPU bomb damage, right? Leveling it in the worlds can be a little bit difficult because first of all you have to run towards a monster, right? You have to find something to farm. By the time you find something, there's a chance that another player might be already farming it and you will only get like 1 or 2 hits in. There is a place where you can easily level up this damage, right? And that is the basic training dojo. So the very first map, right? In this map, there is a great thing of having a bunch of monsters who will not be doing a lot of damage to you, which means that you can easily hide behind Luna, right? Because she will be doing majority of the tanking as long as you stay behind her and don't aggro the monsters yourself, right? In this content, you are able to easily farm a lot of damage. What you can do on top of that, right, is you can walk around and you can actually aggro a lot of the units in there. After that, you'll try to position yourself behind Luna somehow, right? But once you have all of the aggro drawn, look at the amount of damage you can do, right? Like I'm just throwing some bombs, they are exploding right here. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose, right? Because you will be getting the damage regardless, right? Let's say I farmed for what, like less than a minute, that was 50 seconds. Look how much damage my CPU bomb got, right? We'll see the stats in just a second. Look at that. 25,000 damage on the CPU bomb. In order to get that much damage in a regular map, you would take at least like 5 to 10 minutes to farm. In here, you can just jump in, shoot a bit, jump out, right? Even better if you have the ice gadget unlocked. So there is this gadget, I believe it unlocks after either you complete one of the rifts or one of the dojo levels. If you have this gadget, farming this way becomes even easier because you can easily draw aggro of all of the units in a few seconds. So here's what I do. You go here, you pop the little ice. It has absolutely massive range. You can walk around like this and you will have aggro of every single unit in the game, right? After that, try to position yourself behind Luna a bit. But yeah, look at the amount of damage. The amount of damage your gadgets will be doing, the amount of damage your passives will be doing, and the amount of damage your main weapon will be doing, right? I even got a chaos core somehow in here. That's amazing, right? But yeah, you are able to easily do massive amounts of damage, and even then, look at this. I even got a high score, 38 seconds, right? Once you farm this way, right, you will see yourself doing a lot of damage. Look at this. Look how long it would take for me to get 20,000 damage like I did on the explode or matic trigger. That would take me 10 minutes, 20 minutes in a regular map because it's so hard to trigger it, right? In here, bob 40 seconds, it currently has 20,000 damage. That's pretty much how I farmed a lot of the damage on here in order to get the XP, right? And yeah, make sure to use this trick in order to get a lot of extra damage stats on your counters, right? And lastly, the last tip I have for you regarding this game is, honestly, do not burn out, right? I have played this for, okay, I'm saying 24 hours, but including all of the breaks and stuff, right? I probably played it for like 20 to 21 hours, right? Here's the deal. It is honestly really important to get a lot of like XP you can. It is super important to get all of the jobs done that you have, right? But trust me, there is no need to overburn yourself with this game, right? As time progresses, some of you may not know, but you have this battle XP boost, right? So when the day resets, you will have a quadruple XP. After you farm a bit, it will drop to 3x XP. After that, it will drop to 2x XP. Then it will be 1x XP, basically normal. And even when you use up the normal, you will actually find an out of XP. This means that once it says out of XP in here, until the timer reaches 0, you will actually not be getting any XP from monsters at all, right? So Majority of the XP you will be getting in these 4x and 3x boosts, and you really don't wanna overfarm to a point where you are just grinding at an out of XP state, right? Of course, unless you really love the game, right, feel free to do it. There's honestly a lot of missions that you can still grind even if you do not have the XP, right, because these will reward you a bit as well. But the amount of time you have to sink in order to farm some of these missions after you have out of XP on your account is honestly absolutely ridiculous, right? And again, I ran out of XP probably like good 3 to 4 hours in, and granted I was still like playing around with all of the content, not just straight up farming the maps only. You will have plenty of time to complete all of the missions, to complete all of the maps, and even if you're only able to dedicate like 20-30 minutes to this game, it will be more than enough to reach a lot of progress in it, right? Trust me, if it wasn't for this like specific 24-hour challenge, I would have quit for the day probably like 4 or 5 hours in, right? Because at that point I have explored all the content, I have beaten a decent chunk of raids. Maybe I would have gotten sort of like an amazing score in this, or I may not have beaten one of the last rifts, for example. But even then, I could just do it the next day, right? There's really no benefit in doing it on day 1 as opposed to like day 2, day 5, or all of that, right? The XP won't run away from you, trust me. And yeah, as long as you're able to do a little bit of the battle XP from here, and you are able to consistently clear all of your daily jobs, that's where you will be getting majority of your XP, right? Because trust me, the XP gap when you are getting XP and then where you're not getting XP is absolutely ridiculous. For example, in order to get this amount of XP, like from level 18 0 XP to level 18 60,000 XP, it took me probably like 3 to 4 hours of just farming quests, right? If you have the daily jobs, if you have, for example, 10 daily jobs, if you have the daily XP through here, this would probably take you like 15 to 20 minutes, right? So yeah, don't overburn yourself. Trust me, if you play a game a lot, eventually you might grow to hate it, right? And as this is an amazing game, I really don't recommend you to go too hard unless you are like super hyper focused on hitting the leaderboard or something like that. Trust me, it's not worth overburning yourself. Play for as long as you are getting actual benefit. At the maximum, I would only recommend doing your daily jobs and getting all of the XP from here. After that, you are easily can drop at the game for the day and wait for the next day in order to farm a bit more, right? So yeah, don't overburn yourself on this game. It's amazing, but don't find yourself in a situation where you've played non-stop for a week and then you find yourself hating the game because you've played way too much of it, right? I know that happens sometimes to me with my games, but yeah. So overall, Moco, amazing game. Honestly, game of the year. I'm telling you, this game is getting awards in the mobile category, right? This game is getting awards, right? And as it opens up a bit more, it's gonna be even more amazing. And yeah, that's about it. Stay tuned for future videos. I'm gonna be doing various videos on rifts, dojo, PvP, right? Right now I'm trying to push for a black belt, so we'll see how that goes. And yeah, that's about it, and peace.